Very good evening again. This is our seventh session, and I believe there are many newcomers join our class today, wondering how much they have missed. Of course, you have missed, but not much. But what you missed is very crucial for better understanding of this subject, economics. And today too, we would be covering the essential fundamentals of economics. Every subject has its own fundamentals. And your success depends on your degree of mastery of those fundamentals, right? Okay, now get your tutorial and turn to page number 31. Turn to page number 31. Page number 31. The relationship between opportunity cost and economic goods. The relationship between opportunity cost and economic goods. Right. So you see two names here, economic goods and opportunity cost. And we are going to examine the relationship that these two concepts have. Relationships that these two concepts have. Right. Economic goods. Please don't think when you study subjects like this, you may think, okay, the name comes first, examples follow that name. That is how normally you write things in your book, and that is how you fill your tutorials. What is the name? Economic goods, and then you write examples. But the practical life is not like that. The real world is not like that. In real world, we have things. And when we examine them, when we interpret them, then we develop names. Now there is a name, economic goods. Okay. Look at the world. Look at your life. Look at your environment. You have been surrounded by economic goods. Your phone, your laptop, your desk, your chair, your house, your car, your pencil case, everything can be treated as an example for economic goods. So, why do we use the adjective economic in front of the word goods? We imply with that name or adjective economic that these goods are scarce, that these goods have a limited supply. Human beings, including yourself, including myself, we all want them more than they are available. So this is why we use the adjective economic in front of goods, and then we call the goods economic goods. And there is another meaning in it. Not only that they are scarce. Why are they scarce? It's because we want more than their available quantities. The second reason is they have been produced by using limited or scarce resources. Look at this world. We have lots of resources, but these resources must be converted into or transformed into various goods and services if we want to satisfy our needs and wants. This is the way the world has been organized. There are resources. These resources cannot directly satisfy all our needs and wants. So what we do, we turn those resources, we mix them, combine them, change them, so that we have production processes to transform those scarce resources into scarce goods and services. At the resource or input stage, we call them economic resources. At the output stage, we have to call them economic goods. And when we produce an economic good, whatever it is, a TV, a radio, a computer, a motorbicycle, a ship, an aeroplane, a car, whatever, we must understand that different types of scarce or economic resources have been used. And we should not forget those scarce resources that were used in producing, let's say, a ship, could have been used to produce some other product as well. So now we bring into this concept like the argument opportunity cost. We have something, but in obtaining that something, there is a sacrifice that has been made. Instead of having this, we could have having something else, but since we have it, we can't have that. This is the fundamental level economic way of thinking. It implies that you can have what you want, but you can't have everything you want. You have to choose which one. Which one now? Which one more? Likewise, we have these choices to make. This is called our economic life. So we all have a life. In economists' point of view, we all live an economic life. We ought to make choices, and sometimes it's very hard to make those choices. Sometimes the choices we make are very naive and illogical, and we know the harsh reality of life. First we make choices, then the choices make us. So this is why the making of choice and making of sacrifices are crucial to understand the essentials of economics. You thought at the time you chose economics, you thought economics must be, it's about money, markets, goods. You thought like that. I also thought like that. But economics has a particular core or center idea. That is how we make choices and sacrifices in fulfilling a chosen fraction of our unlimited wants using limited resources efficiently. So don't forget that in every chapter, in A levels as well as in higher studies, if you prefer choosing econ, you will have this idea at the core. Right. Turn to that page. You are there, right? Okay. Page number 31, the relationship between opportunity cost and economic goods. Right. Okay. So the basic relationship is economic goods are scarce, and as a result, every time when you produce them, when you have them, when you use them, there is an opportunity cost. Puta, don't get upset or don't get intimidated by these names, right? Scarcity, opportunity cost. There is a relationship because opportunity cost is an effect of scarcity. If resources are not scarce, if you can have resources in the way you want, at the time you want, at the quantity you require, scarcity does not exist. Then in such situations, opportunity cost, which means then you don't have to make sacrifices, right? Okay, now this is what you need to write. You can see there is a particular, I'll show everything to you so that you can write it, right? So economic good has been resulted by the making of human choice, right? So it's there, that paragraph there. I'll tell you what to write here, right? Wait, don't write this thing, just read it well. An economic good has been resulted, an economic good has been resulted by the making of a human choice regarding the allocation and use of scarce resources to satisfy one human want by giving up another want. That could have been satisfied. That could have been satisfied if the scarce resource had been used to produce some other product rather than the product in consideration, right? So this is why we need to understand the fundamentals. Look at every basic idea of economics is a part of this sentence. Economic good has been resulted by we make choices, and we make choices regarding the use of our resources. And what is meant by choice? You have to choose something. So choose something means you have to decide to not to choose something else, which means you give up some other thing, right? So this is the life of practical human beings. Look at what your father does. Look at what your mother does. Look at what you do. Look at what your teachers do. You all make choices, and every time you make choices, you sacrifice something, right? Okay. So please write this down here. Write this down here. Opportunity cost is an unavoidable effect of scarcity. Opportunity cost is an unavoidable effect of scarcity. Yeah, it's okay. Unavoidable effect of scarcity. Opportunity cost is an unavoidable effect of scarcity. Effect of scarcity, which means You have this opportunity cost idea because of scarcity, right, Aputta? Then there are two important conclusions. Of course, we did this. I know that, Pudha. Thank you very much. Not that I know, actually, I did not know. I could, now I got into my mind, right? Okay. So opportunity cost is an unavoidable effect of scarcity, right? Here there are two important conclusions, right? Did we write these number 1 and 2? I can't remember, but anyway, I have to do it. We didn't write that part, right? Okay, now listen, now listen. Here there are two important conclusions. Two important conclusions, right? What are they? Okay, before you write this, read this idea. Most of the time, economic goods have prices. Yes, like everything, most of the things you have in your house and what you use, you bought them. And how did you buy them? You had to pay the price of those items. So most of the goods have prices. That means they are usually exchanged. Puta, Isumi, a certain disturbance happens from your side. Please avoid it, darling. I think it's something unintentional, but it disturbs me. That means they are usually exchanged in markets, usually for a price. So these economic goods are exchanged, which means buying and bought and sold in markets, usually for a price. However, having a price is not a major feature of an economic good. Please don't think that having a price is the most important feature of an economic good. You heard me. Having a price is a feature, but it is not. Puta Isumi, something. So don't do these things, right? So economic goods have prices, exchanging markets and having prices, right? So anyway, having a price is not a major feature of an economic good, but it's one of the features, because there are situations where Hiroshi, is there wrong in your device? Something wrong in your device? I don't have time for these things, Puta. You should. Hiroshi, what's going on, Puta? Suloshika, Hiroshi. Please do not disturb. I know it may be unintentional, but then it affects the flow of my ideas and the way I intend to present all these things. So it's please do not disturb. That is right. Okay. So it's number one. And the second point, we have to write number 1 and 2. Huh? Right. Okay. First of all, we'll write number 1 and 2. First, you write down, normally an economic good has a price. This is number one. Normally an economic good has a price. Normally an economic good has a price. Right. Then go to, wait, now in that, under that you can see these ideas. No need to write this. Most economic goods have prices, which means they are bought and sold through markets where the buyer has to pay a price to the seller. That is how you bought your computer. That is how you purchased your smartphone. Okay, right. Next, most of them are traded in markets because prices exist only if you buy or sell something using markets. But having a price is not the main criterion of an economic good. Don't ever say all economic goods always have prices. Don't ever say the products that have prices are economic goods. And when a product doesn't have a price, it is not an economic good. They are false statements. False statements. So look at the argument here in number one. Normally an economic good has a price. The first one, most economic goods do have prices. True. And most of them are traded in markets. True. But having a price is not the main criterion of an economic good. This is number one. And number two, some economic goods don't have prices. Some economic goods don't have prices. Please write this as the name of the second point, Putta. Some economic goods don't have prices. Some economic goods don't have prices. That is number two. Okay, these are the main ideas. Now, it is because they are provided by one party to another free of charge. When you receive presents or gifts on your birthday, which means people who love you, people who, like if you have a party or something, then they buy them and they present them to you. So you are the recipient and you get them free of charge. But it doesn't mean that they are not free goods. It doesn't mean that they are not economic goods. No, they are economic goods. The only thing is one party incurs the cost and doesn't pass it to the other party. Your invitees would never ask, right? Payments for those gifts that they give you, right? We even remove the price tags because we don't want to communicate that value to the recipient, saying that we have spent this much on this gift. No, we don't do those things. But it doesn't mean it's a free good. It's still an economic good, right? Next, although they are free for the recipient, but costly for the provider. You can have some other examples as well. We speak of free education, free health care. Actually, they are not free. We call them free because the recipients don't have to pay for them. But these are provided by the government incurring a substantial cost. Every year, the government has to incur massive expenses on the provision of free education and free health care. But in economic point of view, they are not free, although they are free for the recipient. The provider, which means the government, must incur a massive cost. The only thing is the government does not directly pass it to those recipients. Third idea, Pute, the main criterion of an economic good is having an opportunity cost. To check whether a particular product is economic or non-economic, you have to check whether, number one, whether it is scarce, number two, whether it has an opportunity cost or not. So what is opportunity cost? We studied this concept in the week before last. I told you opportunity cost is defined as the value of the next best thing that could have obtained but had to be given up. The opportunity cost of today's class, it definitely includes the class fee that you have to pay. It definitely should contain any other expenses on electricity or something, and that for the data. And it also includes if the opportunity cost of this time. If I ask you, if this class, if you do not attend to this class, right, you could have done something else. So that is the second in your priority list. As you have chosen this, I think this is your priority number one. So if priority number one is this, so there is definitely something else, the second priority. And it is clear to understand and believe the second priority has been given up by you. It's not because you don't want it, but this has to be given the priority. Dulip sir's economics class starts at 4:30 and I must join it. Whatever I have to do, I do later. So you must have thought like that, or sometimes you did not think like that. Your parents thought like that. Right? So some economic goods don't have prices. Okay, right. Now you should be able to read that page well. Right. Go there. It's about the second point, page number 31. The second point, it is because there are instances an economic goods sometimes are given by one party to another party free of charge. That means at zero price. But the zero price doesn't make that a good a free good. Still it is an economic good because the producer or provider has incurred. Producer or provider has incurred an opportunity cost. Right? Although the recipient gets it for without paying a price. Okay, right. So the examples are healthcare facilities provided freely by the government to the citizens. Education services, including if you go to a government school, when you go to local universities for your higher studies, yes, we call them free education, provided again freely by the government of the citizens. But in front of that, please write down this idea, Pute. They are not free goods. Instead, they are economic goods. Please write this down. They are not free goods. Instead, they are economic goods. You must be wondering, sir, they are services, right? So why are you using the word goods? Why don't you write the word economic services? Pute, of course, healthcare and education are services, but in economics, we use the term goods with a wider coverage where services also are included. They are not free goods. So healthcare facilities provided freely by the government to the citizens. They are free for the citizens, but not free for the government. Education services provided freely by the government to the citizens. They are free for the citizens, but not free to the government. Please understand these essential fundamentals. Righto. Good. I need to scroll down. The resources that are provided, resources that provide medical care, housing, education, child care, and elderly care could have been used in other ways. So they all have opportunity cost. Right? For an example, when the government wants to launch a housing scheme or something, the government knows that those funds and resources could have been spent and used for some other purpose. So they evaluate those options politically and economically, right? Therefore, even the recipients of these services obtain them for free. For individuals, it is free, as he doesn't have to pay for it. But the society, which means now you would think government pays for it, but the truth is, the ultimate truth is, my putala, taxpayers pay or have to pay for all these things that government would be doing eventually. That is the ultimate truth. Your free education, for an example, suppose you go to a government school, or after schooling, you go to a local university like University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, University of Colombo or Kelaniya, right? There you would get your higher studies, free education. Now answer my questions, Putala. Do you have to pay? Do you have to pay a price for those services if you go to a Sri Lankan university? Yes or no, my dear? We have to pay for those education services, everybody? No. Wait. So who provides that for you? Who gives that? Who has established those institutions? Now answer my second question. The government. The government. So do you believe the government would incur the cost? So ultimately, right, eventually, right, who would be paying for this? Who would be paying for this? The taxpayers. The taxpayers. That is the point. So you understood a kind of a chain. This is where we have to be good citizens, right? When you study economics well, it will give you thousands of reasons for you to be a good human being. Then you understand your choices matter. Then you understand you have to make sacrifices, and others also make sacrifices. And you realize sometimes others make sacrifices on your behalf. Look at your parents. Look at your teachers. very special in school. Then you understand that the choices matter, so you have to carefully carefully compare the benefits and cost of your actions. Then you know your choices have consequences. And you know this free education and all these things, you get them free. But eventually, including your house, your family, all others, we pay taxes to the government. Right? That is the point. That is the point. So you need to know, this is where we live in this society. So this society is really, really important. Very important for us. Right? You can't think, okay, I can survive. I don't think of the society. You can think like that, but that thinking is erroneous. That thinking is not right. Okay, good. Then, right, we go to the next page, page number 32. So remember, in economics, free doesn't mean there is no price. Free doesn't mean there's no price. In economics, free really implies no sacrifice, hence no opportunities to forfeited, which means given up. So zero opportunity cost. No opportunity cost. That's the real meaning of the adjective free in economics. When you say something is free in econ, which means you don't have to make a sacrifice for it, which means you don't have other alternatives to be given up. So zero opportunity cost. It's very hard to find these kinds of examples. Right? And the next one, an economic good can never become a free good. An economic good can never become a free good. Why? Because once an opportunity cost has been incurred, it can never become a free good again. Never become a free good again. It will always have an opportunity cost. Now just think of this pen I'm using. Right? Once this is now, I have incurred a cost and the producers have incurred a cost. Right? So, and this helps me to, now I can write using this, right? And after that, I throw it away. Atlas Jyoti? Yes, Jyoti. Right. And after that, I'll throw it away. Now it goes to the environment. It can have environmental hazards. That's the way. When things are produced, when things are consumed and even disposed, costs exists. Not only to individuals, but also to the society. Did you understand now? Did you understand how choices matter? When these things get produced, sacrifices must be made. Costs emerge. And when we consume and when we dispose. So now you understand that our choices really matter. Okay, right, good. My kids, everybody, especially the newcomers, only the newcomers should respond. Kids, did you understand? Newcomers, use the chat option and right, good. Now you know that free education is not free, right? Huh? Now you know that free healthcare is not free, right? That's great. Good. Very good. Very good. So you should know now, even though we use this word like free education, free healthcare, as a student who learns economics, you know, they're not free. Right? Great. Great. Okay, Putala. Sorry that other students must be thinking, sir, why didn't you ask that whether we got it or not? I know that you got it, right? Okay, that's why I did not ask you, right? Okay. Right. Next. Now we go to the opposite concept. What? Free, or you can call them, Pute, non-economic goods. The opposite. Simple, right? Before we go there, we need to recollect a small part. What are the conclusions so far? Free does not mean no price. Free means no opportunity cost. I told you that. An economic good can never become a free good as an opportunity cost is incurred to produce it. So if you think that you would get confusions, better write these two equations. Free does not equal no price, but free means no opportunity cost. Please write them down if you want, Puta. I need quick responses, Putala, quick responses. Puta, please, it's a small request. Every time when you log, right? And as soon as like sometimes you don't know how to name the device before you log. Ane Putala, please try to log with your name. And if not, once, as soon as you log, please rename your device. If by doing that, you can help me, because otherwise I have to eliminate you from this group, then you would misunderstand me saying that, sir, you are not good, not a good human being. You are so mean, right? And you have all the rights to think like that. But you need to understand why I have to do that. It's because you do not respect to that particular small requirement of mine. Na podi ekata podi attention ekak denna ona mataka tiya ganna ona. Hari? Right. Good. Non-economic goods. Right. What are they? Non-economic goods means they are not scarce. They are not scarce. Don't try it. Don't try it. And we can have them in infinite amounts when they are available. Not scarce. We can have them in infinite amounts. And as a result, no opportunity cost. So please write down, go to non-economic good part, write down. I think it's clear for you now. If when I write on the screen, I do that. Okay, Putala, we are going to write this down. Write down. They are the goods that are or that have infinite supply when they are available, and hence can obtain them in unlimited amounts without opportunity cost. Without opportunity cost. They are the goods that have infinite supply when they are available, and hence can obtain them in unlimited amounts without opportunity cost. Yes, Seniti asked this question. Sir, in some cases, water is non-economic good. Perhaps water scarce for some other countries, isn't it? Yes. Now, it's very hard to give universal examples for this category of goods, like non-economic. Now, water, when you get them like in big rivers, they are definitely non-economic, and even rainwater non-economic. But there are many instances water which is traditionally called a non-economic good can turn into an economic good. For an example, the water supply, right? Chlorine added water, which means water has to be collected, processed, refined, distributed. So they all have a cost. So now water is not a free good anymore. Now it is an economic good. And suppose you have a well in your garden, there's a fountain. Yes, at that fountain level, it's a free good, but you have to take it out. If you use a motor using electricity to get water into your tank, that is again an economic good. And when every time when you buy bottled water, that is an economic good. All right, Pute. Seniti, did you understand, Puta? And Tarini asked the question, sir, can you explain how it won't affect the opportunity cost with an example? Now, opportunity cost is, Puta, that you need to make a sacrifice. You don't make sacrifices for the things that are not scarce because you and others can have them in unlimited amounts. You go to the beach and there you can see a massive bulk amount of like rain, seawater. When you get some amount of from the ocean, it doesn't mean that its availability has gone down because you can have them in infinite amounts. And rainwater is not something that you choose to have. It's not a result of your choice. This is why we call that zero opportunity cost. Tarini, understood, Puta? Okay, good. So now, therefore, the production of free. Metzela, I answer your question, darling. Wait, huh? Therefore, the production of free or non-economic goods doesn't have an opportunity cost. Doesn't have an opportunity cost as scarce resources are. Why? Scarce resources are not involved. So example, you see, Puta, look at this. Sunlight, air, rainwater. Right? Okay, now please read the characteristics of, and here I have made a mistake, neither. Please add the word non-economic here. Non, the word non. It's a mistake. Characteristics of non-economic goods. Characteristics of non-economic goods. Putala will read one by one. On the first one, they are relatively not scarce. And when they are available in infinite amounts. Neda Pute, huh? They are available in infinite amounts. Infinite amounts. Then scarce or economic resources are not involved and don't have an opportunity cost and even don't have a production process. Now, Puta, think again, rainwater. There is no human production process behind it. Water in the ocean, there is no human production process of getting, having that water. No. Production processes with a human effort, not involved. The supply of them are mainly determined by the nature and its ecosystems. You see, supply is mainly determined by the nature and the nature's ecosystems. O-level science, can you remember? Water cycle. Huh? You loved science, right? Although you did not choose it for A-levels. It's because you did not want to be doctors, right? Not that you can't be. You did not want to be, right? Because not that we can't do science, right? We don't like. Huh? Right. Then the personal ownership of those economic goods is impossible. Can you call that part of rainwater is mine, or that part of that rays of that sun is mine, or that particular part of these stars it's mine, and this part of ocean water is mine? No, 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 we can't say like that. No personal ownership. So look at these characteristics, and these are the characteristics of non-economic goods. Non-economic goods. Okay, right. All right, so far, right? I'll get the evaluation in the end, right? Okay, now, right. Now look at the next topic. Go to the tute again. Situations where a free or non-economic good turns into an economic good. Oh, what is that? Free or non-economic goods can sometimes turn into economic goods. Okay, we'll understand it. What are those situations? Suppose there's a patient and that particular person has kind of breathing problems. Can you tell him, here, don't you understand? Oxygen is everywhere. Breathe, breathe. Can you say like that? Huh? What do you mean? Can't you breathe? Don't you know how to breathe? Do this. Can you do like that? Huh? In hospital, what happened? What do? They store oxygen and provide them using special means. So now oxygen, a special element of air, although we can have it for free, it is not free for the patients, the divers, not free, right? So it's a non-economic good, but now turn into an economic good. Next, oxygen for a patient. These are there. You don't have to write them down, huh? And now sunlight. It's a free good, but when you turn it to this solar power, now solar power is not a free good anymore. It's an economic good, because this panel had to be created with a cost. Here, this device had to be created with a cost. Harira pain nani color එක පොඩක් with a cost. Next, solar power panels and bottled water. So now you know, right? Now you know that. Yes, I have answered your question, no? Right. Did you understand, my kids? Right? Now they are there, right? Me balana pute. Oxygen for a diver, patient, astronaut, solar power panels that are powered using sunlight, bottled water. Harada pute? Right, good. The next one, right? Economic bad. We have been using the word good. Economic good, non-economic good. Did you ever think that the opposite of the word good is bad? Yeah, you know it. But in economics, what is meant by a bad? Bad is not something. Now, a good is something that you want to get. Bad is something that you want to get rid of. You want to get rid of it. It's not something you want to have. It's something you want to avoid. Don't you have things like that? Wait, at the moment, don't you have some things that you want to get rid of? Tell me. Huh? Just name some kind of a thing, right? Yes, Corona, COVID-19. You want to get rid of it. Yeah, can I have examples other than COVID-19? Huh? Because we all, do you have something in your possession at the moment that you want to get rid of it? What is it? Very good, very good. Comment answers done. I want to get rid of my isolation. Yes, yes, yes. This is why you are addicted to phones, right? You want to get rid of that isolation. Yes. Negative vibes, garbage. Yes. And yes, connection issues. Something that you want to get rid of. Yes. Look at this. I need answers. Everybody, please participate. Do you have something like sometimes some of the stuff, past tutorials that you know that you don't use, and old clothing that you purchased long time ago, now you can't? All these are examples. Polluted air, the whole pandemic years, my broken pencils, yes, my earphones, you want to get rid of them. Why is that? Perhaps your earphones want to get rid of your ears. Tarini, how is that? Fever you want to get rid of, and you want to get rid of travel restrictions. Why are they? You want to go to heaven very soon. Curfew, from house flies, mosquitoes, staying at home. Kochar examples in mage puteya. Balan, polluted air, fog, weeds, negativity. Yeah, sometimes our life full of negative things, our feelings. Then we want to get rid of them. So they are called bads. Bad people, excellent. Lockdown, pandemic, my grade 11 books, computer viruses. This is why we install virus guards. So we have to incur a cost. And now this becomes an economic bad virus. Even by incurring a cost, we want to get rid of them. Simple, huh? Simple. You give me this. Onila, very good. I like your involvement to the lesson, huh? Very active. Getting rid of environmental pollution, plastic, polluted sea. Yes, polluted sea these days, right? Samadhi, you want to get rid of food. Samadhi, I'll come to collect. Don't throw, huh? Isuri, you want to get rid of your brothers. Perhaps your brothers want to do that. Huh. Cancer, corrupted politicians, yes, yes. Laziness, stress, bad neighbors. Ayyo, acid rain. Right, good. So wait, there are many things that we want to get rid of. We call them bads. We call them bads. And if we are ready to pay a price or incur a cost to do that, then that bad becomes an economic bad. Why? We prefer using other resources to get rid of it. Say it, I don't want. Very good. Lovely. Right? Niyamai. Fun economic bads. So economic bads are. Please write this down, darling. It's there, it's not there. Write this down. This is the definition. Write down. Economic bads are the stuff. I don't write it, Puta. It's there, no? Stuff on which people are willing to pay a price or incur a cost to not to get, but to get rid of. Write this down quickly. My dear newcomers, are you satisfied with the speed? Did I explain the things? Because you just joined today. Give me a small response when the time permits you. Newcomers, huh? You managed to understand, Puta? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, sorry for the interruptions. Start writing, Puta. Okay, darling, thanks. Because I teaching my side, I don't see you, no, darlings, right? I don't see your beautiful faces and eye contacts and all these non-verbal communication and the facial expressions I don't see. You see mine, although they are not that pleasant, right? You you have to tolerate that, no? But the thing is, a teacher heavily depends on non-verbal communication, but I don't have that privilege in online education, right? This is why I ask those things. Okay, right, good. Okay, we know. No, no, Puta, you're not disturbing me, darling. I'm ready for all these things. Don't worry. Don't worry. Finish the Puta. Liya the mage Puta, liya the. You know, I know, like it's very hard to enjoy online education, right? Uh, because sometimes I feel very alone, like, sometimes I'm just, okay, what I'm doing, like I don't see the faces of my kids, right? I'm not a teacher. Normally, when I teach, even with the mic and all, if it's a big class, I used to come down the stage and I just want to come through. But the thing is, uh, now I don't have it. That is why I just want, actually, I enjoy this deliberately, because otherwise, uh, the boredom, laziness, lack of meaning, lack of direction, lack of discipline would come into my system, and then I will not be able to do my job well, right? Okay, and some students have asked questions. So we don't want the garbage, right? Getting rid of. But what about people that cleans garbage? Yeah. The thing is this. Now, suppose this municipal council or urban council people in that environmental unit, their job is to collect garbage, right? Their job is to collect garbage. But the thing again, it doesn't mean they want it. They do it as it's their job. But we see sometimes this garbage is used for like waste disposal for other purposes, generating energy. Foreign countries, they do that, right? And recycling. Then, of course, again, for the supplier, it's a bad. For the collector, it's a good. Understood? Now, suppose you want to get rid of the garbage, so it's a bad for you. But the collector's point of view, it's a resource for them. It's a resource, so they want it. You want to get rid of, they want to get. Okay, right. I give you some examples. I have given examples. A person would prefer to pay urban council people. Now, amio tati. Now, I definitely pay these people when they come, right, to my place, right? I prefer paying because I know they do kind of a disgusting job that we would not be doing, right? Collect garbage, right? You now I call like sometimes Malli puluan hetanidda tenna. Sorry, because they do that dirty thing that we don't do it, right? How? So you should never underestimate those people. You should definitely respect and encourage, because they do something that you can't do and you don't do. Every time when someone does something that you don't do, don't like doing, and can't do, you have to admire those people. Okay, so it's you should learn. That is called like that's called like you want to be a good human being. So it's definitely you need to do that, right? Next, when there's a dead animal, a person will incur a cost to bury it before it starts stinking, right? Suppose there's a dead animal in your garden and you can't dig right, you don't know how to use udal or something, then you will call somebody and say මේ මෙතන වලක් කාරලා දෙන්න මම ආට රුපියල් 500ක් දෙන්නම් මුව වලලන්න ඕන before it starts stinking. So you will incur a cost to bury that dead animal. Okay පුතා, නේද? කරනවා නේද ඔක? Right, good. Right, now take a small break, 2 or 3 minute break, go somewhere and come. Don't look at the screen. Even I go and right. Okay. Okay. Right. Dasuni, I will answer your question later. Right. Now, Putala, we are about to start another important section, page number 34. Page number 34. Putala, something happened. Can you see me now? Because some interruption took place. Right. Okay. Then no problem. Right. Okay. What about this slide? Can you see the screen? Abuta? All right. The screen. Okay. Right. So this is again the 7th session. And our topic is factors of production. Putala, you all know, please try to get the basic understanding here. You all know what production is. It's a process of making goods and services. It's a process of making goods and services. And so what are the factors? Factors are the resources or inputs. Resources that are used as inputs. So factors of production means we are going to pay attention on different types of resources. Different types of resources, right? Good. So these are the major topics, Pute. First, we want to understand what factors of production are. And then we need to analyze the specific categories of factors of production. Land, which means all natural resources. Capital, all the resources human beings produce. And labor, which means us, our physical and mental abilities to contribute into a production of a good or a service. And finally, entrepreneurship, special human abilities to organize business ventures, taking risks and innovate, right? And to organize production processes using other resources such as land, capital, and labor. So now you have an understanding what this topic is going to be about. Factors of production, land, capital, labor, and entrepreneurship. Pute. So now the first one, Puta, what is meant by a factor of production? We'll have a look at the tune. Huh? Right. You see that? Meaning of factors of production. Factors of production are also called resources and inputs. The terms are interchangeable. Factors of production are therefore the inputs of resources used to produce the goods and services that people want. People want. So write down this, Puta. I'll type for you. In economics, we mainly consider economic resources as the factors of production as they must be used as inputs with an opportunity cost to produce goods and services, or better try to produce economic goods. Write this down, Pute. Write this down. Puta, is the font size all right for you, Puta? Font size. Is it all right? Is it too small that I used to type? Okay, right. Okay. Quickly write this down, Putala. Thanks for your quick responses, huh? Economic resources as factors of production. Okay, now to produce goods and services, we need the factors of production, right? And goods and services are scarce because factors of production are scarce. So scarcity is everywhere. Scarcity is everywhere in economics. Okay, right. Amashi, give me a call tomorrow morning. Right, importance of factors of production. Right. I told you this, right? I gave you this idea. In economics, by factors of production, we mainly consider economic resources that are relatively scarce and productive. Right. First one, factors of production are scarce. And because of the scarcity, the factors of production of all categories, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship, they have opportunity costs, Pute, which means you need to give up something else. Next, various ways. Now, although we use the general term factors of production, you need to listen, Puta, factors of production or resources. And even when you categorize them into land, there are different types of natural resources. Capital, there are different types of man-made factors. Labor, you know, from person to person, place to place, time to time, occupation to occupation, organization to organization, country to country, the quality and the capacity, capabilities of labor change. And entrepreneurial spirit is different from person to person. So this, although we use the general term factors of production, and even when we slice them into categories like land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, we need to understand the reality is far from this simplicity. This reality is highly complicated because these resources exist in different ways. Next, because of these factors of production, we can have flow of goods and services. Every time we have needs and wants, we know goods and services would be found in markets. And how markets get those goods and services? Because they are produced by using the factors of production. Since factors of production is available, goods and services also are available. Next, there is another side of this argument. Land, the owners of land, land owners. Capital, those who invest. Labor, those who work. Entrepreneurship, those who start businesses. Puta, they all generate factor incomes. For an example, for the natural resources I have and I own, when I supply, I earn rental incomes. If I'm an investor, when I contribute to the process of making capital, I can earn a special income called interest income. And when you work as a laborer, whether you supply physical labor or mental labor, you would earn wages and salaries. And when you start a business, when you become an entrepreneur, you know you would get profits or losses. Okay. Finally, Pute, don't think only goods and services are traded in markets. We normally think that there are markets, and we normally think that these markets are for goods. I want to buy a pen. There's a market for pen. I want to buy a mobile phone. There's a market for mobile phone. I want to buy a car. There is a market for car. That is one side of the argument. There are other types of markets too. How you get a job from the job market? And there are markets for natural resources. There are markets for capital. So which means when resources are traded in markets, we call them resource markets or factor markets. Resource markets or factor markets. You can find all these details on the TUT. You just need to underline them, highlight them, circle them, whatever you want to do. Factors of production. Did you understand this introductory explanation? Can you please respond, Puta? Because it's beginning of a kind of a section. I just want to know whether you got this. Okay. Great. Great. Honda Pute, thank you. Right. Good. Actually, although this is our 7th session, I must tell you that, right? Like when you get online education, you have to adapt to it. This may not be your most preferred way of learning, and this is definitely not my most preferred way of teaching, but we need to adapt. And I'm happy to say, most of you, I see it because in the way you respond, your adaptation was so high. Right? And what did I mean by this flow of goods? Flow means kind of a continuity. Continuity. Temporarily we see shortages in markets, but normally goods and services are of continuous supply. It doesn't mean we can have them in unlimited amounts. No, they are still scarce. They are still scarce because the resources are scarce. But since we have factors of production, we can have goods and services. That's the meaning of that idea. Okay, right. Here you have this. Now I have named, look at this 6th point, Puta. Land resources are owned by landowners and they earn rental incomes. Then labor, laborers, workers, employees, they get wages and salaries. Capital, normally capital are provided by investors who earn interest income. And entrepreneurship provided by entrepreneurs who get profits or losses. Profit means something positive, losses means something negative. So that is why we say entrepreneurs have risks. Risks. Risks that others don't have. Okay, Puta? Right, good, good, good. Now we're going to the next page, page number 35. Right, quickly. Right. Look at this, factors of production. Look at the way that they have been classified. Physical resources and human resources. Physical means they are just merely physical, right? And the natural resources, land and man-made resources, capital, are called physical resources. And then the second category is human resources, under which we classify labor and categorize labor and entrepreneurship. Quickly complete this, Putala, quickly. Okay, good, great. So look at this what does this classification tell us? Factors of production or resources can be categorized broadly into two: physical resources and human resources. Under physical resources, we have land and capital. Under human resources, we have labor and entrepreneurship. Right. You know what I'm going to talk about now. I define factors of production, Puta. I define factors of production. Factors of production means the resources that is there in the first part. That is how we began this section. Right. Land. Right. So now we're going to do this section, Pute. Natural resources or land. Very important topic. Right. Land includes all natural resources, and we can call them gifts of nature used in the production process. Don't think that all the resources you have and you can see and you use are given by nature. No. The resources that are originally provided by nature is called, or are called, sorry, land resources. Land includes all natural resources, gifts of nature, in other words, used in the production process. This definition are there. You don't have to write anything, okay? And look at the way it has been defined to the economist. Land includes all natural and non-human resource we call gifts of nature. Okay, now I'm going to list down some examples for land resources. Right, first, write down natural lands. Natural lands. Examples for land. Second, forests. Forests. Third, soil. Soil. Number four, weather and climate. So can you understand now? To an economist, weather and climate are resources, and he would be categorizing this under land resources. Sea and its resources, and you call them aquatic resources. Natural lands, forests, soil, weather and climate, sea and its resources. Next, rainwater. Rainwater. Oxygen. O2. In the language of chemistry. Sun, moon, and stars. Our planet has one sun, one moon, and an uncountable number of stars, right? And wild animals, coal and other minerals. They all come under that Putha Seniti. Yes. Coal and other minerals. Okay. Artificial robots, definitely capital, because it's man-made. If a resource is man-made, which means designed, changed, improved, produced by human beings, it would never be a natural resource and it would never be a human resource. It's a physical resource made by human beings called capital. Which we understood. Good. So now we need to list down few characteristics of land. And before we write the first 5, we'll read number 6 to 12, Putha. Then it's easy for me and for you to focus. As land resources are utilized, they get depleted or depreciated. We need to check the quality of land resources when we use them. The supply of land resources is affected by the nature's ecosystems. The availability and the dispersion of diverse from place to place, right? We don't have land resources equally divided or equally available in everywhere, no, right? Availability, dispersion, diverse. Natural resources comprise of renewable, we studied this in the week before last, and non-renewable resources. And the supply of land is fixed or perfectly inelastic. It's basically human beings cannot have a big impact on supply, but we can destroy the nature's potential, and eventually it's one of the surest way of destroying the mankind. And the degradation of natural resources and environmental pollutions. Today, natural resource degradation, and today we question the sustainability of the world. Sometimes the supply of land changes when the new natural resources are discovered. Some are really interested in these discoveries so that they can find new natural resources, and that would expand the production possibilities of the world. Okay, we'll now write down the first 5. First 5. Write down, land includes all gifts of nature. Land includes all gifts of nature. Quickly. Land is a primary or non-produced resource. Land is a primary or non-produced resource, which means we did not produce it. Primary or non-produced resource. Third, land resources are difficult to be mobilized. You can't mobilize the climate and weather conditions and soil, minerals, right, in that original way. So land resources are hard to move, hard to be mobilized. Rent is the factor income for land. Rent is the factor income for land. So land is a resource, so it generates income for the owners of that resource. And what is the name of that income? Rent or rental income. Finally, productivity depends on how humans use them. Land's productivity depends on how humans use them. Quickly, quickly. Very good. Okay. Land includes all gifts of nature. Land is a primary or non-produced resource. Land resources are difficult to be mobilized. Mobilized means moving from one place to another. Rent is the factor income for land resources. Land's productivity depends on how humans use them. Right, Oputala? Sometimes you may think everything that we can see on land is a natural resource. No, no. So get the tune. We are moving into the last section now. How to distinguish land from capital. How to distinguish land from capital. Read the note with me, Pute. How to distinguish what? Land from capital. Land includes all the natural resources, yes, except sunlight, air, rainwater, almost every other natural resource must be changed in order to bring them to be useful for an economic activity. You see, the natural resources cannot be used in that raw nature to satisfy our needs and wants, which means now human involvement is necessary. And after human involvement, mage putala balaganna, suppose there is something called land because it was originally supplied by nature. And suppose now suppose, sorry, something called land. I use the color, right? So it's given by the nature. But then what happened? Human involvement. Human involvement. Putha, tell me, if this happens, will this remain as land? Huh? Do you think that this Kalawever and all other Wev, and do you think that Port City, you think that they are land resources, my kids? No, no, no. After human involvement, what is the right word? We should call them now what? We should call them what? We should call them Mukadabute. Very good. Capital. So we have to check whether they are in the original nature or human involvement is there. If human involvement is there, Puta, you can't call it land. You must instead call that capital. That's it. Only it's originally provided from the nature, you can call them land. When the human involvement is there to change it, modify it, improve it, that should be called capital. Okay, right. Right. You need to write this down, Puta. In order to make them productive and useful, yeah, you must write that sentence here. In order to make, here rather than them, write down, in order to make natural resources, in order to make natural resources productive and useful. Now you can write most of them. Huh? Most of them have to be changed. Most of them have to be changed using, you can see, other resources, entrepreneurial, capital, and labor resources, in order to make natural resources productive and useful. Most of them have to be changed using other resources, which means entrepreneurial, capital, and labor. And Senidhi, I will give you the answer. Wait. And after such modifications, they can't be called land. And you can't call it land anymore. And you should call them capital now. And Senidhi asked, sir, a gem mine comes under what? Capital. Gem mine, at the original point, it's definitely land. But when you excavate, using certain machines and labor, and someone takes the risk, that would now be capital. Only at the purest level, natural level, it's land. And after that, after the discovery, it would, after that, once it starts being used up, it would turn into capital. Natural pools come under land, yes, but if human involvement is zero, if human modification is there, right, you can't call it's a natural resource modified by human beings, so it should be definitely capital. Finish writing, my kids. Just one last thing we have to do, very small thing. Then you are, yeah? Right. So the following are not land. Paddy fields, no. Looks like land, right? But no, human. These are arranged by farmers. There is a natural component in it, but that whole thing you can't call capital now. So you can't call land now. Animals in circuses, right? When you get this elephant in the wild, it's a natural resource, but now it has been tamed and trained. So it's, you would find this elephant in circuses. So it's now capital. Port city, capital. And Kalaweber, for an example, again, it's not land, it should be capital, it should be treated as capital. That also capital. When man creates artificial rain, then it's capital. Is man a natural resource? Very good question. Man is not a natural resource because human beings are produced by other human beings. So man is definitely labor, it's a special form. Aren't our pets natural resource? No, they were originally natural resource, and when you start raising them and breeding them, that would be again capital. Yes, we covered the target. We covered the target. Next week, we would be doing capital, and if possible, we go to other sections as well. Thank you very much. Stay safe. Good night.